Hey, great job today. Very stoked that you're wanting to do saxophone. Very noble on you. This reed that we're using today, this is a 2.5. It's a little thicker than normal. The reason why it's fun to start with a thicker reed, when you go down to a thinner reed, it will be easier to make the sound. That's why I start people off with the higher reeds. Generally, I would have started off with a 3 to make it almost impossible. So when we did put a 1.5 on there, it would be like butter. As far as this guy goes, you never want to play with anything that's really broken. You want to make sure that the top of this is nice and rounded and that there's no smudge or nonsense on it. So make sure to keep it clean and you put it in your sheath and you keep it in there when you're not playing it. When you are playing this unit, after you're done doing it, take a rag and wipe it down. The essentials that you want inside of your kit are gonna be a couple things. One, you wanna have extra reeds that are unopened. You want to have a towel for wiping things down, like your bell, which is where you hold the thing, and anywhere that gets a smudge. Also, after I'm done, I take my pick and put it in here and pull off the excess moisture. I use this in the neck right here. It keeps it a little bit moist and gets some of that funk out of there. Then again, you don't need it. You could use the big one as you have. You can either put it on before or after. I like to put it on after because I'm a big fan of not breaking this. When you break this mechanism, the whole thing has to be replaced. So be very careful with the neck here and be very careful with the octave bar. The reason why, that little piece that sticks up here hits there from the thumb piece. Once you've properly moisturized this, you can either put it in a glass of water, let it go for 5 minutes, or throw it in your mouth while you're putting together your unit. As you can see, when I put this up here, you do not want it to go over the tip top of here. You want it to be absolutely flush with the fuselage. So once it is nice in there, you don't want them to come off one side or the other. So I wonder if I can turn this around. If you move it to one side, it will look weird and not cover the hole. So what you want to do is make sure that the armature here that you're putting over the top of it is right smack dab in the middle. When it's right smack dab in the middle and you've got parallel bar in between here, you should have just a little lip here where it doesn't stick over. If you run your tongue over it, it should feel okay, like there's not a huge gap. If there is a huge gap, something's wrong. Do it again. Take it off, try again. Once it's on like this, make sure that you're nice and narrow right here and that your pathway is the same size between your gears. Do the bottom one turn, top one 2 turns, bottom one a little one, and then top one again. Once you do that, it should be nice in there. For you, for this week, don't even worry about playing the saxophone if you don't want to. Take this with you everywhere. Make sure it's wet and try and get a sound out. You can get a multitude of different noises out of this, one of being up high, the other one being right in the middle, and the one being low. I'm not able to get that really, really low one. It's more for very and very light ones. But those 2 notes you got there, the idea is not just go and get one note out. The idea is to hold a pocket of air, taking in a nice deep breath. When you fill up your lungs will have 2 air-filled sacs called a diaphragm here, which sits near your intestine. I'm kind of fat, so I can't really tell you where mine actually is, but I do know it's on the back side underneath your lungs and they go up and down. Those are your diaphragm sacs. It helps push air out. So when we push out air, we push from the bottom, like from the belly button all the way out. Sitting in a chair, holding it with a thumb on the back of our thumb rest and a thumb underneath the lip is the best way to do this. So when you're practicing, try to have this with you and try at least 5, 6, 8 times a day until I see you next. Here's what it should look like. That's a good duration right there. If I really practice on it, you could try circular breathing like dis reduce, so you get multiple breaths, but there's no need to. Most notations you're gonna do are whole notes. Most music is rock and roll, so 120 beats per minute. It sounds like this. So if you can hold for that line, you're great. An absolute way to talk about measures would be just this. Whole note. 4 beats. Half note. Half note, half note. Quarters are every beat. 1, 2, 3, 4. eighth notes. And the way I'm doing that, I'm touching the top of the reed while I'm blowing with my tongue. See how you can get multiple different tones out of it, just how tight you squeeze down and how loose you blow through air. So we do a lot of mouth work, a lot of understanding of why we hold the mouth the way we do. But there's something I want to tell you. The one thing I want you to do this week while practicing this on the saxophone is to try and press that octave button while pushing down all three of those pearl pedals, all those keys. So, as I said, you always want to hold the saxophone by the bell, nothing else. Don't ever hold it by anything that's on the stem here. If you are using one of these, make sure that it is cleaned with vinegar every 6 months or bacteria grows. That's the low note I was talking about. When you put this in, make sure that you have this little one. What is this thing called? It's called a... yeah, I'll remember here. It has 2 names. Tightener. That's what we're going to leave it for right now. When it's in there, this should go out back. When you got your neck strap on, you want to put it on there. And if I remember correctly, your neck strap was about the size of a finger from the base. So if your finger's right here, make sure that your neck strap is here. The reason being is when you latch it onto your safety knob right here, your strap lock, it holds it in. One finger should be right next to your octave button. And on this one, the only thing on here that really doesn't open or close or anything is just the knob. It's for your thumb. Yours is black, mine is gold. You're gonna put the little nub of your left hand on that. Boom, looks like this. Right there, and it allows you to do this. When you do that, it actually moves this thing, the octave, and it makes it go up. So here is our takeaway from today. When the saxophone is put together properly and the mouthpiece itself is pushed back on a well-oiled cork, it should have about a little over a 1/4 inch on standard corks, meaning some make you go sharp, some make you go flat. When you're playing a note, you can adjust by how stiff you make your lip. Listen to the difference between the 2 notes. Loose lip. Stiff lip. Hear how it raised up in intonation sharply? That's how you are able to get those cool jazz notes. Little scoops up to it, along with articulation. Today, you learned that the pads that we play on the left hand don't need to have that second button. So you don't have 4 fingers down. You actually use that 4th finger, 1, 2, 3, to play this pad. And then maybe these roll pads. We'll talk about these roll pads, what their names are way down the line. However, right now, what we're wanting to organize is our first finger on the first pad, second finger on the third pad, and then third finger on that third pad right there. We're gonna have ourselves this G major chord. For a while, that's because I've worked on breath control, breathing, and dynamics. However, when you're trying this, your whole concept is to try and get a note out of your mouthpiece off the saxophone. When you put it on the saxophone, hold down your 1, 3, and 4. We're not even gonna call this a pad. Ignore it. 1, 2, and 3, and leave off this 4th. We're just gonna be playing 3 fingers down on the G. And what I want you to do is take a deep breath, count to 4, play that low note, and then take a quick breath and go. And then press your thumb on the octave button right here, and then play that same thing without changing your mouth. And hear how it goes up to a higher note. octaves is really cool. Using the thumb is awesome, but in the end, remember how I said you could have loose lips and then tight lips? It's embouchure. I can jump up that other octave by squeezing just a little tighter and blowing just a little harder and not use that finger button. Hear how I got a little bleed through on that second time? It's because I'm not that great at it. The more you practice something, the better you get at it. I use the octave fingering. Here's what we're going to be working on in the next session. We're going to play these notes, and be careful. See how my strap just came off? You got to be super careful of these cheapies. You might want to invest in a really nice strap lock or neck piece. So here's what we're going to be doing. We're going to play the G. We're going to open off our third finger to an A. We're going to open up this finger to the first pad. That's a B. Placing our finger on the second pad, just the middle finger, boom, that makes a C. When we play all of those three pads, again, the G, and then do the same thing on this lower hand, boop, 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 and then not this one, no need for it yet, we get a D. After we play that D, we have an E, and then we have an F sharp, and then it goes back up to the G. So 3 fingers down is a G, 2 fingers down is an A, 1 finger down is a B, middle, 1 finger down is a C, all the fingers down is a D. Lifting a finger makes an E. Lifting up all but the middle finger makes the F sharp. And then when we lift that up, it makes the G. If we didn't do that, it wouldn't have made an F sharp. It would have made a F note. That's the difference. That's next week's lesson. We're going to go through that so you can get crystal clear notes out, and they're going to look and sound like this. What I just did generally takes students about 2 months to do. I think you can do it in a week and a half. If you come back next week with what next week's lesson is going to be, awesome. But for this week, all we're really doing is making a sound out of the mouthpiece, making sure that we can hit this octave button and jumping up to a different octave, and knowing that we're not playing this pad right here. We're only playing down on these. Right on. When we're done with our unit and we're done with playing the item, as I said, the most important part about this thing is having maintenance. A good instrument is well maintained. Take off your strap, put the instrument down to the side, right on your lap there. You're going to take your hand, put one hand on the bell, the other hand on the mouthpiece right here, not to hit your octave note. Take it and twist it and pull away from the unit and pull off the mouthpiece. Unloosen or untighten your the fulcrum there on your armature. And I want you to take both of these. Take your pick, wipe it down with your towel, and immediately put it into your sheath. You don't want this to break. And I put the thick end at the bottom and the base, boom, like that, and then push the small end towards the tippy top right here. I also put this right where my neck piece goes, so I know that's the reed that I'm working with. After you're done with that, what you're going to want to do is take this mouthpiece. As I said, you're going to want to do this every single time. We didn't do it in practice because it takes a little minute, but every single time that you play your instrument, you're going to want to do this. You put all of the cloth that you possibly can in the bottom end of the mouthpiece. And then you pull out, it cleans that bottom half, and then you do the same thing to the top half. If you need a lighter, thinner towel so you can get through and do that kind of pulling motion, great. The one thing you don't want to do is wreck the tip of this by dropping it or chipping it. It makes it hard to make contact with that. Once you get as much of the moisture out of there as you possibly can, you take your metal right here and you only tighten the top one just a very small. After that, you take your sheath, you put it over the top of it, and you make sure that both of your knobs are pointing in the same direction, because when you put it into your case by going up or down, there's only enough space to fit it, and you don't want to break it on the side. When I say that, I'll show you my case in a second. Personally, you undo this right here, the little mechanism to tighten it. My brain's blanking out. I can't remember the name of it. It's can't believe I can't remember. It's crazy. With that cork stuff, put it on your finger or put a little dab on there and then spread it around your cork. Your cork should be well moisturized. If you don't have cork grease, coconut oil works as well. Again, you never want to hold anything by this, so don't touch it ever, and hold around it and wipe out as much of the water with your rag as you possibly can. When you do that, it's great. You can pick up one of these little bitties. It's for $4 from Rico as well, and then it fits right into the middle. Boom, donezo. I'm gonna put that back into my case right over my right over my reed that I'm using. And then I'm gonna take this and I'm gonna wipe down my bell. I'm gonna put my finger in the hole right here. Actually, I've got one of these, so I now just do this. Stick it right in the middle, right there. Give it a couple up and down so it grabs stuff, moisture. Twist a little bit. And then what I like to do is I like to tighten my my knob right there so it goes down on the top of it. I then hold my finger up at the top. I take and I wipe anything that is clear that I would have put my fingers on without being abrasive. I clean off the top of my bell. I make sure the bottom of this is fine. And then I take this and hold it like this, and then I put it back into my case. When I put it back into the case, I take all the other miscellaneous items, and you will always forget to take off your neck strap. I always do. And then, as you can see, everything's back in my case, ready to rock. This is sticking up straight. Everything's nice and ready to move. And then I can do some final wipe downs on this if you want. There are products you can use, and you can even wear these fancy gloves so you don't, but I don't use those. Other than that, what I would like to do after 3 or 4 sessions, I would like to get us a book. I work from a very specific book, and I will